Welcome to the Playing Books podcast. We're diving deep today into a book that, well, it shaped how millions think about relationships for almost a century now. Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah, it's a classic for a reason. And this isn't just going to be a quick summary. We really want to unpack the core ideas, look at the stories that make them stick, and, think about how you, our listener, can actually use these principles.
Exactly. Consider it your guide to the enduring wisdom in here. We'll pull out the key nuggets to help navigate, well, the complexities of dealing with people.
Our mission today is basically to explore the whole book, hitting the key sections and using those great examples Carnegie provides to illustrate the points.
And we really encourage you, as you listen, to think about your own experiences. Where could these ideas fit? How might they apply to situations you face?
Okay, so let's jump into part one. Fundamental techniques in handling people. And the very first principle is pretty blunt.
Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Easy to say, maybe harder to do.
Definitely. Carnegie starts with that really stark story of Crowley the killer, remember? Even facing execution, he saw himself as having a weary heart, but a kind one.
Right. It kind of makes you think, if he couldn't see fault in himself,
Yeah,
how effective is criticism really going to be on, well, anyone?
exactly. It just highlights that defensiveness, that resistance we all have. Criticism rarely lands the way we intend it to. And he brings in science, too, like B.F. Skinner's work.
Oh yeah, the experiments showing rewards, positive reinforcement, work much better than punishment for changing behavior long term.
Precisely. It's about encouragement, not just fault-finding. And the Hans Selye quote.
As much as we thirst for approval, we dread condemnation. That really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? That fear is powerful.
It is. And think about those examples, like George B. Johnston with the hard hats. Just using authority, no understanding. It just built resentment.
Or Lincoln. His early habit of writing those scathing letters, it created actual enemies for him.
Until he learned restraint. That famous unmailed letter to General Meade after Gettysburg. I mean, imagine writing it all out, getting the frustration down, but then not sending it.
Choosing to consider Meade's difficult position instead. That's real insight into people.
It is. And then there's Hoover, the story with the mechanic who made a mistake. Hoover offered trust, not a scolding. It focused on fixing the problem, not placing blame.
It makes you wonder how often we default to criticism when maybe a different approach would work better.
And that Father Forgets editorial he includes.
Wow.
It's such a poignant reminder of how we can focus on tiny flaws in people we love and miss the bigger picture.
Yeah. Brings it right down to our daily lives, our families.
And underlying all this resistance to criticism is that fundamental human need, right? The desire to feel important, to feel valued. Criticism attacks that directly.
Which actually leads perfectly into the second principle, doesn't it?
It does. Principle 2. Give honest and sincere appreciation. And Carnegie is very clear. This is not flattery.
Right. Flattery is shallow, insincere. Appreciation is genuine recognition.
That story about the farmer's wife who never heard a word of thanks, it's heartbreaking, really. It highlights how easy it is to just take people for granted.
And the study he mentions about runaway wives citing lack of appreciation as a main reason, that's pretty telling.
It really is. But then you get the positive side, like the man sending his wife 6 red roses just to say he loved her as she was. That small act, that sincere appreciation.
It can change the whole dynamic. It's about seeing and acknowledging someone's worth.
And he calls appreciation legal tender that all souls enjoy. I love that phrasing. It's universally valuable.
Emerson's quote, too. Every man I meet is my superior in some way. In that, I learned of him. That encourages you to actively look for the good, for what you can genuinely appreciate.
Yeah, it shifts your focus. It's about giving something freely, and the impact can be huge.
Okay, so principle 3 is a big one. Arouse in the other person an eager want.
This is fundamental to influence, according to Carnegie. You don't get people to do things by talking about what you want. You have to connect with their desires.
Like the example of talking to kids about smoking. Don't preach about health risks they might ignore, but link it to something they do want, like being good at sports.
Exactly. Frame it in terms of their goals. And that Emerson story with the calf.
Oh, brilliant. Him and his son pushing and pulling, getting nowhere. And the housemaid just lets the calf suck her finger and leads it right in.
She thought about what the calf wanted. It's such a simple, perfect illustration.
Harry Overstreet's quote sums it up, right? First, arouse in the other person an eager want. He who can do this has the whole world with him.
He who cannot walks a lonely way.
Powerful stuff.
And apparently Andrew Carnegie mastered this.
Even the author's own story about getting his rent reduced, he didn't just complain. He focused on the manager's perspective, the downsides for the hotel if he moved out. Smart.
Very. And those ineffective business letters he analyzes, they're all me, completely ignoring the recipient's needs or interests.
Whereas Barbara Anderson's job application letter worked because she focused entirely on how she can help the bank solve their problems.
That's the key. And motivating the service station owner by appealing to his desire for recognition, or helping the boy stop wetting the bed by focusing on his desire for pajamas like dad's.
It taps into their intrinsic motivations. Even the little girl making breakfast, she wasn't forced. She gained a feeling of importance, which made her want to participate.
These first three principles really form the bedrock. Stop criticizing, start appreciating genuinely, and always think about the other person's wants.
Right. So, moving into part 2, 6 ways to make people like you. And number 1 feels almost, well, obvious, but maybe it isn't practiced enough.
Become genuinely interested in other people.
Yeah. He uses the example of Tippy the dog. Dogs are masters at this, aren't they?
Yeah.
Pure, unadulterated interest in you.
And Carnegie's claim is pretty bold. You'll make more friends in 2 months by being interested in others than in 2 years trying to get them interested in you.
It shifts the focus entirely outward. Like Howard Thurston, the magician, his success wasn't just skill. It was his genuine interest in and love for his audience.
That connection matters. Or Edward Sykes, the salesman, keeping that account not just by talking to the boss, but by showing real interest in the soda clerk and the sales clerk. Everyone matters.
Treating everyone with that level of interest, even with busy authors, showing you've actually engaged with their work and value their thoughts, goes a long way.
And that letter Madeline Rosedale wrote about the bank staff, especially Marie Petruccello, asking about her sick mother, that's genuine human connection, it leaves a mark.
It does. And Mr. Naffel, the fuel salesman, failing when he criticized, succeeding when he shifted to asking for their help, showing interest in their business.
It's a total change in approach, just by showing genuine interest.
Okay, principle number 2 in this section. A simple way to make a good first impression.
Smile.
Just smile. Actions speak louder than words, right? The smile says, I like you. I'm glad to see you.
Think about a dog's greeting again, or a baby's smile in a waiting room. It can completely change the atmosphere.
But it has to be real. A genuine, warm smile. Not the fake grin.
Absolutely. Carnegie emphasizes that. Professor McConnell believed smiling makes you better at everything: managing, teaching, selling, even raising happier kids.
And Robert Cryer hiring the candidate because his voice sounded friendly and interested over the phone.
Yeah.
That shows the power carries even when unseen.
The stockbroker who turned his whole demeanor around just by consciously smiling at people, it apparently changed his life and his business.
It links to that William James idea too, doesn't it? Act cheerful, and you might actually start to feel more cheerful.
That as-if principle, it suggests we have more control over our feelings than we think. And happiness, as Carnegie notes, often comes from within, not just external stuff.
Like Senora Gonzalez making friends at work just by initiating smiles and greetings. You can create that positive energy.
And that lovely line about a smile that costs nothing, can't be bought or stolen, but is worthless until it's given away.
Nice. Okay, principle 3 for making people like you. Remember that a person's name is, well, crucial.
To that person, it's the sweetest and most important sound in any language.
And the story of Jim Farley is incredible. His ability to remember thousands of names was apparently a huge factor in FDR's success.
He had a system, sure, but it was rooted in genuine interest. Remembering and using someone's name is such a simple yet profound compliment.
It says, you matter enough for me to remember you. Forgetting or misspelling a name, conversely, can be a real slight.
Definitely. Andrew Carnegie figured this out early on, naming his rabbit colony after potential partners. A bit quirky, but it shows he understood the psychology.
And the negotiation with Pullman suggesting naming the sleeping cars after Pullman was a masterstroke in appealing to his desire for recognition.
We see it everywhere, right? Donor names on buildings, plaques in churches. People crave that recognition, that sense of permanence associated with their name.
And why don't people remember names more often? Carnegie says it's usually just lack of effort, not taking the time to focus and practice.
FDR apparently made a point of remembering mechanics' names. That takes effort.
W.F. Chamberlain's story about Roosevelt remembering his name and asking about his car, it made him feel incredibly important. That's the impact.
Napoleon even had a method repeating the name, associating it with features. It takes conscious effort.
Even in quick interactions, like Ken Nottingham using the cafeteria worker's name, it makes a difference.
Okay, number 4. An easy way to become a good conversationalist. What's the secret?
Be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves.
Huh. It's almost counterintuitive. To be seen as a good talker, you need to listen well.
Carnegie's story about the bridge party is perfect. He barely said anything, just listened intently about someone's travels, and they thought he was the brilliant conversationalist.
Because he gave them his full attention. Charles W. Eliot from Harvard said, "Exclusive attention to the person who is speaking to you is very important. Nothing else is so flattering."
That makes sense. And in business, the executive listening for hours to that complaining customer.
And turning him into a loyal advocate. Just by letting him talk, letting him feel heard. Mr. Detmer did the same with the customer refusing to listen to the whole story first.
It validates the other person's feelings, even if you don't agree with them yet.
And that story about the Western Union boy who basically educated himself by listening and asking famous people about themselves, it shows listening is also a path to learning.
It boils down to remembering that people are just fundamentally more interested in themselves, their problems, their stories, than they are in yours.
Yeah, that line is stark. Remember that the people you are talking to are 100 times more interested in themselves and their wants and problems than they are in you and your problems.
Your toothache matters more to you than a famine in China, as he puts it.
Exactly. Which leads nicely into number 5, how to interest people.
Talk in terms of the other person's interests.
Makes sense, right? If you listen well, principle 4, you'll figure out what those interests are.
Theodore Roosevelt, prepping for visitors by reading up on their hobbies or fields the night before, that's serious dedication to connecting.
It is. And William Lyon Phelps's aunt praising the guest who talked about boats because Phelps was interested. She called him a gentleman for making himself agreeable by focusing on the host's passion.
It's about making the conversation enjoyable for them. Edward Chalif getting that favor by asking about the framed $1 million check he tapped into the president's pride and story.
George Lawson making the sale by talking about the hotel steward's beloved greeter society, not just the product. Edward Harriman landing the interview by researching the elusive target's interests first.
It shows you've done your homework, that you care enough to engage with their world.
And Howard Herzig's point is great, too. The reward isn't just influence, it's that your own life gets bigger and richer by learning about other people's interests.
Nice perspective.
Okay.
The final one in this section, number 6. How to make people like you instantly.
Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely.
Again, sincerity is key. Like the hairdresser genuinely admiring the author's thinning hair. It made him feel good. It wasn't fake.
Right. Insincerity backfires. This isn't about manipulation. It's about genuinely recognizing and appreciating the value in others. Emerson again. Every man I meet is my superior in some way. Find that way.
Carnegie notes that people who boast loudest often have the least genuine accomplishment. True importance doesn't usually need to shout.
Good point. And the stories, the lawyer getting the Packard by genuinely appreciating his aunt's memories tied to it, the judge giving the puppy to someone who sincerely admired his dog breeding hobby.
It's about valuing what they value. Even George Eastman, hugely successful, lit up when James Adamson complimented his office, but more so when Adamson showed real interest in his early struggles.
That sincere interest in his journey, his efforts that made Eastman feel truly seen and important.
So those 6 ways, genuine interest, smiling, using names, listening, talking their interests, making them feel important, they all circle back to focusing on the other person.
Absolutely. It's a fundamental shift away from self-focus.
Okay, let's move to part 3. How to win people to your way of thinking. This feels like it gets into trickier territory, maybe. Persuasion.
It does, but Carnegie's approach is still very much about understanding and respect, not manipulation. And the first principle hits hard. You can't win an argument.
Huh. We've probably all learned that the hard way at some point. His own story after WWI, arguing about a, quote, getting corrected and learning the lesson from Sir Ross Smith.
Arguments just solidify positions. You might win on points, technically, but you rarely change a mind, and you often create resentment.
The book lists those steps from bits and pieces on how to handle disagreement constructively. Welcome it, distrust your first impression, control your temper, listen first.
Look for agreement, be honest, promise to think it over, thank them, postpone action. It's all about de-escalation and finding common ground, not proving you're right.
Like the car dealer who just immediately agreed with angry customers about the dealership's mistakes. It completely disarmed them.
Or the flip side. The lawyer who won the argument against the Supreme Court justice, but failed to persuade him and probably made an enemy for life. Winning isn't always winning.
James Harvey Robinson's quote about how much we resist being told we're wrong, how personal our beliefs feel, that explains why arguments fail.
Our ego gets involved. Ben Franklin realizing this and changing his whole approach, avoiding direct contradiction, using phrases like, I conceive or it appears to me.
That shift made him far more persuasive. And Mr. Crowley in the lumber business, finding more success by seeking understanding, not winning debates with customers.
Even ancient Egyptian advice. Be diplomatic. It will help you gain your point. This isn't a new idea.
So if you can't win an argument, what's the second principle?
Show respect for the other person's opinions. Never say you're wrong.
Oof, that's direct. But telling someone you're wrong is like starting an argument, isn't it? It immediately puts them on the defensive.
Exactly. It's a direct challenge. Carnegie suggests using suggestion, tact, diplomacy instead, like Professor Muzzey's student who learned to ask questions. Under what conditions would that be true instead of flat-out contradicting?
It opens a door for discussion rather than slamming it shut.
And Lao Tzu's wisdom about rivers and seas staying low to receive the streams, it's about humility, not needing to be above the other person.
Okay, principle 3. If you're wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically.
This feels like the flip side of the previous two. If arguing is pointless and telling others they're wrong backfires, what do you do when you are wrong?
Own it. Fast. Carnegie's story with Rex the bulldog and the policeman is hilarious but effective. He just immediately admitted fault, enthusiastically agreed with the officer.
And it completely deflated the situation. The policeman ended up being lenient. There's a surprising power in admitting fault readily.
Like the employee who kept beating his boss to the punch, admitting his errors before the boss could criticize. It gained respect.
Or the father reconciling with his son after years by finally admitting he had been wrong. It takes courage, but it can mend bridges.
Elbert Hubbard turning critics into friends by agreeing with their criticisms, that's taking it to another level.
And that proverb, by fighting you never get enough, but by yielding you get more than you expected. Admitting fault is a form of yielding that can be incredibly effective.
Right. Principle 4. A drop of honey catches more flies than a gallon of gall. Or, begin in a friendly way.
Simple, right. Start warm, not confrontational. Woodrow Wilson's quote captures it, a friendly approach is more powerful.
John D. Rockefeller Jr.'s speech to those striking miners is an amazing example.
Yeah.
He didn't go in angry. He went in with friendliness, empathy, understanding their perspective.
And it worked. It calmed intense anger and opened the door to resolution. Starting friendly sets a completely different tone.
Like the author getting his rent reduced by praising the landlord first, being agreeable. Or Dean Woodcock handling the potentially awkward photo situation with friendliness.
Mr. Eberson getting the reluctant customer to open an account by being friendly and understanding their hesitation first.
Even the job interviewer creating a friendly space. Let the candidate talk himself into wanting the job. Friendliness creates openness.
Okay, principle 5, the secret of Socrates.
Get the other person saying yes, yes immediately.
This is about finding common ground first. Start with things you both agree on. Build momentum towards agreement.
Socrates was the master, right? Asking questions his opponent had to agree with, step by step, leading them gently towards his conclusion without them feeling forced.
It's a psychological principle. Once someone starts saying yes, it's harder for them to shift to no. The credit manager getting the difficult customer to pay by starting with points of agreement is a practical example.
Get that yes momentum going. Makes sense. Now, principle 6, the safety valve in handling complaints.
Let the other person do a great deal of the talking.
This echoes the listening principle from earlier, but specifically for complaints or disagreements.
Exactly. Often, people just need to vent, to feel heard. If you interrupt, argue, or defend prematurely, you just block that release.
Like the department store example, let the customer get it all out. Sometimes that's all that's needed. They just want to feel understood. Trying to talk over them about your accomplishments or defenses is counterproductive.
They're focused on their problem, let them talk it through.
Principle 7, how to get cooperation. This feels key.
Let the other person feel that the idea is his or hers.
The ownership principle. People support what they help create.
Precisely. Don't just present your idea. Guide them to it. Make suggestions, ask questions that lead them to the conclusion you want, but let them feel like they arrived there themselves.
Adolf cites a sales meeting. Instead of dictating goals, he got the team to generate their own expectations. They were invested because they felt the ideas were theirs.
Nobody likes feeling sold and told what to do. Colonel House subtly guiding President Wilson, making Wilson believe the ideas originated with him. That's high-level influence.
Okay, Principle 8, a formula that will work wonders for you.
Try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view.
Empathy again, but really digging into their perspective. Why do they think or feel the way they do?
Carnegie says success in dealing with people often hinges on this sympathetic grasp of the other viewpoint. Sam Douglas changing how he reacted to his wife's gardening efforts after trying to see it from her perspective.
Or the father dealing with his son's messy room, understanding their viewpoint, helped ease the tension. It wasn't just about imposing his standard.
Elizabeth Novak getting the car payment issue resolved by showing she understood the handler's position first, then explaining hers. It built a bridge.
Learning to genuinely try and see the world through someone else's eyes, that's profound.
It really is. And it leads into the final principle of this section, number 9, what everybody wants.
Be sympathetic with the other person's ideas and desires.
It's similar to the previous one, but focuses more on validating their feelings and ideas, even if you don't fully agree.
The magic phrase he suggests, I don't blame you a bit for feeling as you do. If I were you, I should undoubtedly feel just as you do.
That phrase is incredibly powerful. It doesn't mean you agree with their conclusions, but you acknowledge their feelings are valid from their perspective. It builds instant rapport.
Like Carnegie apologizing to the listener who corrected his geography error about Louisa May Alcott. He validated the listener's indignation first, and the listener immediately softened.
Or Mr. Mangum getting the elevators fixed by sympathizing with the hotel manager's concerns first, then framing their request around avoiding more inconvenience for the guests, the manager's concerns.
Solarucca managing the temperamental opera star by showing sympathy and understanding for his artistic anxieties.
And the salesman collecting overdue bills not by demanding, but by sympathizing with the customer's situations and appealing to their sense of fairness. Sympathy opens doors.
Wow, okay. That's a lot on winning people to your way of thinking, mainly through understanding and respect. Now, part 4, be a leader. How to change people without causing offense.
Yeah, this is about corrective feedback and motivation, but again, done respectfully. Principle 1, if you must find fault, this is the way to begin.
Begin with praise and honest appreciation.
The sandwich technique is sometimes criticized, but Carnegie's take feels more genuine. It's like the dentist using Novocaine soften the area before the procedure.
Charles Schwab seeing his workers smoking under a no-smoking sign, but starting by praising them for smoking outside instead of inside, that acknowledged the positive first.
It made them receptive, not defensive, when he then gently reminded them about the sign.
Okay, principle 2, how to criticize and not be hated for it.
Call attention to people's mistakes indirectly.
So not a direct confrontation.
Right. More subtle, like the army sergeant wanting soldiers to get haircuts, but instead of ordering them, just remarking how much better the well-groomed soldiers looked and suggesting the others might want to shape up too.
Or Lyman Abbott's wife suggesting improvements to his sermon tactfully, not bluntly telling him it was bad.
And the crucial tip, avoid using but after praise. That was great, but it negates the praise. Try and instead, that was great, and if you also did this.
Much smoother. Principle 3, talk about your own mistakes first.
Lead with humility. Before criticizing someone else, mention a similar mistake you've made.
Carnegie reflecting on his own youthful errors before talking to his young secretary, Josephine. It levels the playing field, shows you're not claiming perfection.
Makes the criticism feel less like judgment and more like shared experience. Von Bülow messing up with Kaiser Wilhelm, he should have started by acknowledging his own shortcomings first.
Principle 4, no one likes to take orders.
Ask questions instead of giving direct orders.
So instead of do this, maybe, do you think this approach would work? Or could we consider doing it this way?
Exactly. Owen D. Young guiding his executives by asking questions. It empowers them, makes them feel part of the decision. Even if you're gently steering them, it fosters initiative.
Principle 5, let the other person save face.
This is huge. Don't humiliate someone, even when correcting them or letting them go. Preserve their dignity.
Generally, praising a subordinate's positive qualities even while suggesting improvements. Or Marshall Granger handling seasonal layoffs with appreciation and understanding, not just a pink slip.
It shows respect for the person, even when delivering difficult news or feedback. It avoids creating unnecessary resentment.
Principle 6, how to spur people on to success. This sounds positive.
Praise every improvement, even the slightest one. Be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise.
Focus on progress, not perfection. Like Pete Barlow training dogs praise and reward any small step in the right direction.
Or Enrico Caruso's mother's constant praise, even when teachers discouraged him. That belief spurred him on. Charles Dickens getting that first acceptance letter with praise, it changed his life.
It's that positive reinforcement again. B.F. Skinner's work applied to human motivation. Minimize criticism, maximize genuine praise for effort and progress.
John Ringelsplosh improving his kids' behavior by focusing on praising the good things they did. Georgette LeBlanc giving Marie the dishwasher a positive reputation to live up to.
Ah, which connects to the next principle. But first, Bill Parker motivating the market manager by praising his store before suggesting reintroducing a product.
And Dr. Fitzhugh's charwoman doing better work after a single compliment. Mrs. Hopkins turning troubled Tommy into a leader by calling him one.
It's about seeing potential and encouraging it, like the ballet teacher telling a student she had natural rhythm, even if she wasn't the best dancer yet.
Encouragement is fuel. Making faults seem easy to correct is also key. Don't overwhelm them by making it seem impossible.
Contrast that with labeling someone as stupid or incapable that just shuts them down. Ely Culbertson crediting his wife's encouragement for his bridge success. Clarence Jones helping his son by making learning seem manageable.
So Principle 7 flows right from this.
Give a dog a good name, or give the other person a fine reputation to live up to.
Set positive expectations. People often rise or fall to the level expected of them. If you treat someone as capable and trustworthy, they're more likely to act that way.
Principle 8. Make the fault seem easy to correct.
Break it down. Frame it as manageable. Don't make improvement seem like climbing Mount Everest. Encourage them by showing the path is achievable.
And the final leadership principle, number 9. Making people glad to do what you want.
This loops back to arousing an eager want, but in a leadership context. How do you motivate people to willingly follow your lead or do what needs doing?
Woodrow Wilson making Brian feel too important for the task he actually wanted Colonel House to do. A bit strategic, maybe, but effective in making House feel chosen.
Dale Ferrier getting his son to pick up pears by making it a rewarding challenge with a clear benefit. Napoleon using titles and the Legion of Honor. Men are ruled by toys, he said, appealing to that desire for recognition and status.
Mrs. Gent solving her lawn problem by appointing the worst offender her detective genius, giving responsibility and a positive role.
Ultimately, instead of just giving orders, show the other person the benefits they will gain by doing what you suggest. Frame it around their interests and motivations.
The book wraps up by noting how much people want to learn these skills, how the Dale Carnegie course focuses on these practical techniques, and shares stories of transformation.
Yeah, people like Patrick O'Hare, even Carnegie himself, attributing success to applying these principles of human relations, communication, and building confidence.
Well, that was quite a journey through the book. We hope this deep dive into how to win friends and influence people has given you, our listeners, some really valuable insights and actionable principles you can actually use.
Absolutely. It's a book that's just packed with timeless wisdom, isn't it? And those stories really make the principles come alive. We definitely encourage you to grab a copy, purchase the book, and explore it fully for yourself. There's always more to discover.
For sure. And hey, engage with the author's legacy, talk about these ideas, maybe share your own experiences, applying them, use social media, find forums dedicated to the book. Let's keep the conversation going.
And here's the real challenge. Take 1 or 2 of these principles this week and actively try to apply them. See what happens. Notice the difference it makes in your interactions, personal or professional.
Let the wisdom of this book genuinely enrich your life. That's the goal, right?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for joining us on the Plain Books podcast.
Yeah, thank you. If you enjoyed this deep dive, if you found it useful, please follow, subscribe, maybe share with others who you think might benefit. We'd really appreciate it.